I'm Dakota Gully with my TK20 media clip presentation over our course objective in educating exceptional students. I chose Objective 2, understanding and applying the principles of universal design for learning. So giving access to general education to all students. In the book, it states that universal design for learning is one way of advancing the goal of progress in general education. And from what we learned, I would agree that the principles really cover the areas needed to meet that goal. The three principles of multiple means of representation, so varying how you present the content to the students, multiple means of action and expression, how the students uncover and demonstrate their knowledge, and then multiple means of engagement, so ensuring your students are motivated and interested in whatever it is you're trying to teach them. The strategies for implementing universal design for learning really vary depending on what principle you're looking at, as well as the characteristics of the students in your classroom. And I think agriculture, education, and technology, my field, is almost easier to apply universal design for learning in that so much of what's learned has got to come from hands-on, more so hands-on than lecture or book work. So principle 1, providing multiple means of representation. Things like adapting the way that the information is presented to the students to meet the needs of diverse learners, like this over here. Pairing the hands-on or field work with lecture, like that example, maybe during a plant identification lecture, having the students, they have the plants that I'm talking about right in front of them so they can see the different parts or stages that I would be talking about. Guiding the students for new strategies to process and retain information. One thing like giving hints to the students while I was lecturing or while they were reading on parts that would be good to take note of. Avoiding long lectures or keeping lectures concise and to the point. Really, for all students, not just students with disabilities like ADHD. I mean, ADHD, it's going to affect them more so, and those with behavioral disorders, in that they're really not going to be able to sit through a long lecture and pay attention. So connecting patterns or concepts within the material is another. Like another example, rather than trying to memorize like parts of different livestock, like external parts, maybe have them realize the similarities between the anatomy of each species. And then lastly, helping students develop strategies that will aid in processing and understanding new information just based on their individual strengths, I think would be beneficial to differentiating, all this differentiating your instruction, I think, is the biggest point of this principle. So all right, so principle 2, providing multiple means of action and expression. So providing the students with different ways of demonstrating what they've learned, as well as different ways to access information and obtain information. Demonstrating what they had learned, for example, in a welding class, rather than having the students look at a picture of a bead and decide what was wrong or what was right. Maybe have the students go into the shop and run a few beads and see if they can figure out what they did wrong or what they did right. And giving the students tools to efficiently acquire new information, as well as effectively express the information that they that they had taken in, like an advanced organizer, teaching them how to make an advanced organizer to keep their thoughts in line while they were studying or listening to a lecture, things like that. Or with a student who may not speak English so well, maybe have posters in the class that would have terms, common terms that we would be using in their translation, so that those students weren't stumbling across those words so often, and were able to focus on the concepts rather than get hung up on these words. They could focus on what was being taught. Then providing various ways for students to communicate, like providing augmentative, alternative communication for those who have trouble speaking, and an amplifier in the room to use when I'm lecturing or when students are presenting for those who have trouble hearing. Then providing students with skills to set attainable goals, plan for their next challenge, or communicate efficiently and to the best of their ability. It will aid in how they work through information, as well as how they will be able to present. Right. Principle 3, provide multiple means of engagement. So keep the students interested as well as engaged. You can offer a wide variety of options to the students in determining how they can take in as well as demonstrate the knowledge that they've learned. Minimize stress and distractions in the classroom, like offering make up for bad grades on tests and assignments, whatever, and having assessments that will not be graded, but to simply find out where they stand with the content. Keep the students who are gifted or have mastered the content and shown you that from becoming stagnant or bored. Give them the option, once they've mastered the content, to move forward. Encourage students to work together, as well as give them strategies that will help them effectively work in a group setting. Things like breaking up the tasks into each person, each group member having a certain task to do, and then they all come together at the end. Or knowing the strengths and weaknesses of everyone in the group could be effective. Explain the topic and its relevance not only to the class, but to each one as an individual. In my classes, I'll probably have a lot of students coming off of a farm, so getting these students interested in agriculture probably won't be an issue, though I might have one or two, maybe more, who have no interest in it for whatever reason. But either way, explain it and its relevance, like I said, and find different ways to get them involved and get them engaged in the topic. And last, promoting self-expectations as well as self-assessment. get the students to recognize that they're frustrated, or when they're frustrated or getting thrown off, to going back to setting goals. Get them to remember their goals, why they chose those goals, as well as the steps required to achieve the goals. And hopefully that would be enough to get the students motivated and get them back on track. So